You walk into a baby store with the best intentions. You want to give your child every advantage, every opportunity, every tool to thrive. So you fill your cart with products that promise to help. Educational videos that claim to boost language. Activity centers designed to accelerate development. Feeding tools marketed as making mealtimes easier and safer. The packaging looks professional. The reviews are glowing. Other parents swear by them. Your pediatrician's waiting room even has some of these products on display. You think you're making informed choices. You think you're setting your child up for success. But here's what nobody's telling you. And this is going to be uncomfortable. Some of the most popular baby products on the market right now, the ones sitting in 80% of nurseries, the ones recommended in parenting groups every single day, are quietly interfering with your child's natural development. Not in ways you can see immediately. Not in ways that announce themselves with flashing red lights. But slowly, invisibly, creating delays that show up months or even years later. And the worst part? The baby product industry, a $88 billion industry, has gotten so good at marketing these products as developmental tools that most parents don't realize they're actually developmental barriers. By the end of this video, you're going to look at your nursery completely differently. Not because you've done anything wrong, not because you're a bad parent, but because you're about to understand what these products actually do to developing brains and bodies. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. Let's start with the category that pediatric organizations are literally begging parents to eliminate entirely. Number 1. Baby walkers and activity centers. Here's what the research actually shows about baby walkers, and this isn't opinion, this isn't debate. This is peer-reviewed, replicated science. A comprehensive study of 190 infants found that babies who used walkers walked 3 to 4 weeks later than babies who didn't. They also scored measurably lower on developmental assessments at 10 and 14 months. But it gets worse. Way worse. When a baby's in a walker, they're not learning to walk. They're learning a completely different movement pattern. They're pushing off with their toes, rolling on wheels, moving without any balance required, without core strength, without problem-solving how to shift their weight. And here's what most parents don't realize. All that floor time, the struggling, the wobbling, the falling on their padded diaper and trying again, that's not frustration you need to rescue them from. That's their nervous system building the neural pathways for independent movement. Every time your baby catches themselves before falling, that's their cerebellum learning spatial awareness. Every time they pull up on the couch and their legs shake from effort, that's muscle memory being encoded. Every time they take a wobbly step and sit down hard, that's their brain calculating weight distribution. The walker skips all of it. All of that essential learning. All of that neural pathway development. It's like trying to teach someone to swim by putting them in a flotation device. Sure, they're moving through water, but they're not learning to swim. They're learning to rely on the device. Now, add the safety issue. The American Academy of Pediatrics reviewed decades of data and said something unprecedented. They didn't just issue a warning. They called for a complete ban. They said, this product shouldn't exist. Because walkers give babies mobility before they have judgment. Suddenly, your 8-month-old can reach the stairs, the hot stove, the table with scalding coffee. They can move 3 feet per second, faster than you can react. Thousands of injuries every year. Head trauma, burns, falls downstairs. And yet, these products are still sold in every major retailer, still given as gifts, still marketed to exhausted parents who just want 10 minutes of hands-free time. So here's the truth. Your baby will walk when their body is ready, not a day sooner. Not because you put them in a walker or stood them up early or bought the right product. They'll walk when their muscles are strong enough, when their balance is developed enough, when their brain has built the necessary pathways, and they'll do it better, safer, and more confidently without the walker. Number 2, stationary activity centers and jumpers. But what about those stationary ones? They're safer, right? Safer from injury, maybe, but developmentally, still problematic. These products keep babies in an upright position before their bodies are ready, before their spine has the strength, before their core muscles have developed. Think about it like this. You wouldn't strap ankle weights on a baby and expect them to develop normally. So why would we force their spine to support weight it's not ready for? When babies are placed in these centers, they're locked into one position. They can't practice rolling. They can't work on transitioning from lying to sitting. They can't explore different movement patterns. And here's what happens neurologically. Movement variety builds brain connections. Different positions create different neural pathways. A baby who spends an hour in an activity center is missing an hour of floor exploration. That's an hour of not practicing the movements that actually matter. The alternative, that actually works, floor time, not in a container, on the actual floor. A simple playmat with a few age-appropriate toys. Space to roll, reach, push up, transition between positions. If you need hands-free time, and you do because you're human, create a safe floor space. Put up baby gates. Clear the area. Give them interesting things to look at and reach for. They might fuss. That's okay. That fussing is them learning to entertain themselves, learning to problem solve, learning that they can be okay without constant entertainment. And if you're holding them and want to help them practice standing, hold their hands. Let them feel what it's like to support their own weight. Let them decide when they're done. Your hands give them the feedback a walker never can. They feel how their body needs to adjust, how their muscles need to engage, how balance actually works. Number 3. Screen-based educational content for babies. All right, deep breath, because I'm about to talk about screens and I can already feel the defensiveness rising. Stay with me. Because this matters more than almost anything else on this list. Here's what the research shows. Actual peer-reviewed studies, not opinions, not theories, actual replicated science. For babies under 18 months, screens don't teach, period. They delay language development. They delay social development. They interfere with attention span. But my baby loves watching educational videos. They're so focused. They're clearly learning. I know. And that's exactly the problem. Your baby's eyes track the bright colors. Their attention is captured by the rapid movement, the music, the flashing lights. But that's not learning. That's hijacked attention. There's a crucial difference between passive watching and active learning. And babies under 18 months cannot learn language from screens. They biologically can't. Here's why. Babies learn language through back-and-forth human interaction. They babble, you respond. They point, you name it. They make a sound, you repeat it back. They watch your face change expression when you talk. This is called serve and return interaction. It's how the language centers of the brain wire themselves. Videos can't do that. Even interactive videos can't respond to your specific baby's specific sounds in real time. They can't adjust based on what your baby already knows. They can't read your baby's emotional state and respond appropriately. But there's something else happening that's even more insidious. That rapid-fire stimulation, the quick cuts, the flashing colors, the constant sensory input, makes real life seem boring by comparison. Real conversations are slower. Real play is quieter. Real interaction requires patience. And babies start craving that intense stimulation, which makes it harder for them to engage with the patient, responsive interactions their brain actually needs. Here's what the data shows. A baby who watches 2 hours of educational videos a day will hear thousands of words, but they won't process them. They won't connect them to meaning. They won't learn to use them. But a baby who spends that same 2 hours with a responsive caregiver, being talked to, sung to, read to, played with, will not only hear more words, they'll hear them in context, with emotional tone, with facial expressions, with back-and-forth rhythm. That's where language lives, not in videos. Number 4. Electronic learning toys. Let's talk about the toys that light up, play music, teach colors and numbers, and basically perform for your child. These toys are marketed as educational, as giving your child a head start, as preparing them for school. But watch what actually happens when a child plays with a toy that does everything. The toy makes the noise. The toy performs the action. The toy dictates the play. Your child becomes an audience member, a button pusher, not a creator. Now watch what happens with simple toys. Wooden blocks, a cardboard box, a pot and a wooden spoon, stacking cups. Suddenly, your child has to imagine what it becomes. They create the storyline. They figure out how pieces fit together. They experiment with cause and effect. That's where executive function develops. That's where creativity is born. That's problem solving in real time. Plus, and this matters for emotional regulation, simple toys are naturally calming. There's no competing for attention, no overstimulation. Play becomes focused and intentional. I'm not saying throw out every electronic toy, but notice what your child gravitates toward when given a choice. You might be surprised to find that the $60 light-up learning tablet sits in the corner while they spend an hour with the box it came in. That's not a failure of the toy. That's your child's brain craving the open-ended play it actually needs. The alternative: open-ended toys. Things that can become anything. Things that require imagination. Blocks, balls, scarves, baskets, wooden animals, simple puzzles, books without batteries. And here's the secret. The less a toy does, the more your child's brain has to do. And that's where development happens. Number 5. Automated soothing devices. Swings that rock on their own. Vibrating chairs. Automatic bouncers. White noise machines with heartbeat settings. These products promise relief. And I get it. When you're holding a crying baby for the 3rd hour straight, when you haven't slept in days, when you just need 10 minutes to use the bathroom, these devices feel like answered prayers. But here's what we trade away. Something crucial. Something irreplaceable. Attunement. Attunement is when you learn your baby's rhythms, when you can tell their hungry cry from their tired cry, when you figure out that your baby calms with a specific swaying motion, or a particular sound you make, or being held a certain way. That learning goes both ways. You're learning them. They're learning you. Your scent. Your heartbeat. Your rhythm. How you hold them. That's how secure attachment forms. Through repeated experiences of, I'm upset, my person comes, my person soothes me, I feel safe. When a machine does the soothing, that reciprocal learning doesn't happen. Babies become dependent on mechanical motion. They need the swing to sleep. They can't settle without the vibration. And here's something fascinating about human soothing. It's irregular. Your breathing changes. Your swaying isn't perfectly rhythmic. Your heartbeat varies. And that variability helps babies learn to regulate their own systems. They're not maintained at a constant state. They're learning to modulate between states. Machines provide constant, unchanging input, which feels calming in the moment, but doesn't teach regulation. Now, if you're using a swing for a 5-minute break to use the bathroom, reasonable, human, necessary. But if the swing becomes the primary way your baby falls asleep, if they can't sleep without mechanical motion, we've created a dependency that makes everything harder long-term. Number 6. Sleep positioners and cushion pods. We need to pause here, because I'm about to talk about a product category that genuinely scares me. Not frustrates me, not concerns me, scares me. Infant sleep positioners, cushion sleep pods, those cozy-looking nests that promise better sleep, reduced reflux, a snug feeling. The American Academy of Pediatrics is crystal clear. Babies should sleep on a firm, flat surface with nothing else in the crib or bassinet. Not soft cushions, not positioning devices, nothing. There are 2 reasons. First, the immediate safety risk. Soft surfaces restrict natural movement and increase suffocation risk dramatically. But here's what's talked about less: the developmental impact. When babies sleep on firm, flat surfaces, they naturally move during sleep. They turn their heads. They shift their weight. They adjust position. Those small movements strengthen neck muscles. They prevent flat spots. They develop motor skills even during sleep. Cushion pods restrict all of that. The baby is held in one position. The soft edges limit head turning. Natural movement is constrained. There's also a sensory component. A bear crib allows your baby to see their environment, track light and shadows, hear sounds clearly. It's gently stimulating. Cushion pods create a visually monotonous, enclosed space that reduces sensory input during a critical period of brain development. But what about flat spots on their head? That's a valid concern. The solution isn't a positioner. It's more tummy time when awake, varying the direction they face in the crib and holding them more. Bottom line, a firm, bare crib is a safe crib. Use a fitted sheet, a wearable blanket for warmth, nothing else. Number 7, over-reliance on food pouches. Food pouches are everywhere, convenient, no mess, no prep, perfectly portioned, easy to travel with. And for occasional use? They're fine. But here's the issue. When pouches become the primary way a child eats, we rob them of crucial developmental experiences. Let me paint you a picture of what your baby is supposed to be learning during meal times. They're learning to use their hands to pick up different textures. The grip needed for a slippery banana versus a firm cracker. That's fine motor development. They're learning to bring food to their mouth. That's hand-eye coordination. They're strengthening the oral muscles needed for chewing. Those same muscles are used for clear speech later. They're learning about food through all their senses. What does a blueberry feel like when you squeeze it? What does roasted sweet potato smell like? What sound does cucumber make when you bite it? But when everything comes from a pouch, that sensory exploration doesn't happen. Food becomes a uniform, smooth texture requiring no chewing, no manipulation, no discovery. And there's something else. Self-feeding builds confidence. When your baby successfully gets a piece of food into their mouth, they light up with pride. I did this. I'm capable. Pouches keep children dependent. Even toddlers who could be using utensils stay on pouches because it's easier and cleaner. Number 8, sippy cups with valves. Similar issue. Sippy cups with spill-proof valves seem like a gift from heaven. No spills, no mess. But that valve requires a sucking motion, just like a bottle, which means your child never learns to actually drink from a cup. They're 3 years old, still sucking from a sippy cup, using tongue thrust patterns that interfere with speech development. The alternative? Transition straight from bottle or breast to an open cup or a straw cup. Yes, there will be spills. Put a mat down. Use tiny amounts of water at first. But they'll learn the proper tongue and lip movements, the ones they need for clear articulation later. Number 9, specialized feeding utensils. That do the work. There are now spoons that automatically load food, bowls that suction to the table, plates with dividers and special grips. Some of these are helpful. Suction bowls, great. They prevent the whole bowl from ending up on the floor. But spoons that feed for them? Plates that make it impossible to experiment? Those remove the learning opportunity. Your baby needs to figure out how to scoop, how to balance food on a spoon, how to navigate it to their mouth without spilling. Yes, it's messy. Yes, it takes longer. Yes, you'll find food in places you didn't know food could reach. But that mess is learning. That frustration is problem solving. That persistence is building executive function. Here's what's wild about everything on this list. Every single one of these products was invented in the last 50 years. Baby walkers, 1950s. Bumbo seats, early 2000s. Food pouches, last 15 years. Electronic learning toys, last 20 years. Meaning millions and millions of babies, including your parents, your grandparents, developed just fine without any of them. So why do we suddenly need them now? We don't. But the baby product industry is an $88 billion industry. And they're very, very good at making you think you do. They're good at creating problems you didn't know existed. They're good at marketing solutions that create new problems. They're good at making you feel like you're behind if you don't have the latest developmental tool. But here's what I want you to understand. These products weren't created with bad intentions. The companies genuinely believe they're helping, and the parents who buy them are doing their absolute best. But remember what I said at the start. These products are quietly holding your child back. Here's what I mean by quietly. These delays don't announce themselves. You don't get a notification that core strength isn't developing. There's no pop-up warning that language skills are lagging. It just happens. Slowly. Invisibly. Until suddenly you're at the 18-month checkup and the pediatrician is asking questions you weren't expecting. Is she walking steadily? How many words is he saying? Can she feed herself with a spoon? Does he make eye contact during conversations? And you're thinking, wait, I thought we were doing everything right. We have all the right products. We followed all the recommendations. Here's the truth that the baby product industry doesn't want you to know. Real development happens through movement, connection, touch, exploration, and time. It happens on the floor, in your arms, with simple toys, through messy meals, during ordinary moments that feel unremarkable. You don't need every trending product. You don't need the most expensive gear. You don't need the latest educational tool. What you need is to trust the process, to believe your baby's body and brain know what they need, to provide opportunities for natural development rather than trying to accelerate it. Because here's what research shows consistently. Babies who are given freedom to move, who have responsive caregivers, who play with simple toys, who experience varied sensory input, they develop right on track. Not because of products, despite products. So here's what I want you to do. Don't panic. Don't go throw out everything in your nursery, but tonight, after you put your baby down, take 5 minutes. Walk through your home. Look at what you have. And ask yourself one question for each product. Is this doing something my baby should be learning to do themselves? That's it. One question. If the answer is yes, consider whether you need it, whether it's helping or hindering. Some products you'll keep, because they're genuinely useful, because they serve a purpose that doesn't interfere with development. But others? You might realize they're creating dependencies, stealing opportunities, delaying skills. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. Your presence, your patience, your willingness to let development unfold at its own pace. That's more powerful than anything money can buy. The floor time you provide, the conversations you have, the messy meals you supervise, the simple toys you offer, the responsive attention you give. That's what builds brains. That's what develops bodies. That's what creates confident, capable, curious humans. Not products. You. So drop a comment right now. Which product on this list surprised you most? And if this video changed how you see these products, share it with another parent. Because sometimes the most helpful thing we can do is help each other see what the marketing doesn't want us to know. You're doing better than you think. And your baby? They don't need all the stuff, they just need you.